pre-Trump world, the 2024 presidential campaign would have been fundamentally reshaped in just the last 24 hours. Twice. First, an on-camera confession by the Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, about his centrality in the January 6th insurrection, described as, quote, domestic terrorism by the Trump-appointed director of the FBI. And second, the most senior Republican official in Congress, the Republican Senate leader, caught on tape, his own recordings no less, describing his party's presidential nominee, Donald Trump, as a, quote, despicable person. And I should stop here and reiterate, in pre-Trump politics, each of these events alone is a race-changing blow. But we'll start with a damning on-camera confession of sorts from Donald Trump himself, the ex-president fielding questions from voters at a Univision town hall on Wednesday, including a question from a former Trump supporter. Here's the extraordinary exchange almost in its entirety, so once again, you can reach your own conclusions about it.
I want to give you the opportunity to try to win back my vote. Okay, your I would say action and maybe inaction during your presidency and the last few years sort of, was a little disturbing to me. What happened during January 6th and the fact that, you waited so long to take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol. Coronavirus, I thought the public was misled during coronavirus, and that many more lives could have been saved if we would have been informed better. And also people in your administration who don't support you. I'm curious how people so close to you and your administration no longer want to support you, so why would I want to support you? If you would answer these questions for me, I would really appreciate it and give you the opportunity. There's, your own vice president doesn't want to support you now.
Thank you, Ramiro.
So the people that don't support, a very small portion, we have a tremendous, about 97% of the people in the administration support me. But because it's me, somebody doesn't support, they get a little publicity. The vice president, I disagree with him on what he did. I totally disagreed with him on what he did. Very importantly, you had hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me, they came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said, peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong, at all, nothing done wrong. And action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed, nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. The others had guns, but we didn't have guns.
We didn't have guns. In case it wasn't clear, the we he is there referring to is the insurrectionists and him. The quote, others that he refers to with guns are the police officers who defended the United States Capitol that day, and Mike Pence, and all the Republican members of the House and the Senate. So now, 19 days ago, Donald Trump is saying out loud what has been investigated through a congressional probe and the Department of Justice. A lot of that revealed in the body of evidence developed by those investigators, that the violent mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol was part of Trump's own plan to overturn his defeat on January 6th. And that mob was indeed armed. They did have guns. We had guns, Donald. And he knew that before he sent them to the Capitol. Here's Cassidy Hutchinson.
So, Ms. Hutchinson, is it your understanding that Mr. Ornato told the president about weapons at the rally on the morning of January 6th?
That's what Mr. Ornato relayed to me. But when we were in the offstage announced tent, I was part of a conversation. I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away.
It was a mystery for a while, right? How did he know that? They're not here to hurt me. Quote, let my people in. Now we know. We didn't have guns, he says. 19 days to Election Day, and Trump is telling voters that people who attacked the Capitol were part of a we. They were on his side, and he is on theirs still. It brings us to another stunning development today. A new book by Associated Press Washington bureau chief Michael Tackett reveals this, quote, Mitch McConnell said after the 2020 election that then President Donald Trump was, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered, a, quote, despicable human being, and a, quote, narcissist. He said all that. That's what Mitch McConnell voted Donald Trump before the insurrection. More from the AP. Privately, McConnell said in his oral history that, quote, it's not just the Democrats who are counting the days until Trump left office, and that Trump's behavior only underscores the good judgment of the American people. They've had just enough of the misrepresentations, the outright lies, almost on a daily basis. And they fired him. And for narcissists like him, McConnell continued, that's been really hard to take. And so his behavior since the election has been even worse, by far, than it was before, because he has no filter now at all. Now, before those Georgia runoffs, McConnell said Trump is, quote, stupid as well as being ill-tempered and can't even figure out where his own best interests lie. Like we said, in a normal world, that would be a thunderclap, enough to completely derail a political campaign, a candidate leading a political party. So when we say that's not what it is anymore, this is an example that proves that out. An admission that you're on the side of the violent extremists who attacked the U.S. Capitol, and the number one Republican in the Senate calling you, quote, stupid, quote, despicable, and, quote, a narcissist. All that happened in the last 24 hours. Should be devastating, again, to a politician, someone seeking to run the government. But we live in a world where the GOP has splintered in two rather violently. On one side, a robust authoritarian movement that demands you toss your views aside or become an outcast. People like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. Case in point, Mitch McConnell now supports the man he described in his own words in something called a personal oral history as stupid and despicable, his words, on a tape recording he made and shared with a reporter. And on the other side, a small but growing group of disaffected Republicans and independent-minded voters. That split, particularly when it applies to January 6th and Donald Trump's disdain for the hallmarks of democracy, has given Vice President Kamala Harris an unprecedented opportunity and opening that she is seizing on with Republicans and independents. In just a few minutes, Vice President Kamala Harris will be making remarks at her second stop in Wisconsin today. She'll be joined by one of her most high-profile surrogates, Mark Cuban, a billionaire businessman, part owner of the Mavericks, whose reputation in the business world completely eclipses the ex-host of the reality show The Apprentice. Like many of the independents and Republicans the Harris campaign is courting, Cuban once supported Donald Trump, only to break with him, as he says, quote, once I got to know him. We'll bring you the Vice